Could it be? With me, your man, Louis T. Welcome to our first installment of Louis T. Live Draft 101 Live. Now, turn that off for a second. We're talking quarterbacks tonight. And every single week, every Thursday leading up to the draft, we're going to talk about each position group and what I've seen from these groups, where they rank in the draft, where they should end up being taken. And, it's the quarterback position. We talk about this all the time. These guys get pushed up in the draft, at least in the first round. As the draft wears on, you start to see guys settle in, teams settle in, and then those quarterbacks come off the board eventually when they come off the board. But early in the draft, when you see one or two guys come off the board, teams start to panic to try to get their guy. And the next thing you know, 3 or 4 quarterbacks have gone in the first 15, 20 picks. So you're going to see one of those situations this year where I strongly believe you're going to see 3 quarterbacks potentially go in the top 10 of this draft. It would not shock me. You're going to see, I believe, 2 go in the top 3 picks, because I do believe someone is coming up for Tua at number 3. But it's anybody's guess as to who is going to pull the trigger. I still think Miami, they've been sending smoke screens. I believe that they are really interested in Tua Tagovailoa. And they've been telling everyone that they're not, that they're more interested in Justin Herbert. And it sounds good. Sounds really good. And if you are, in fact, really interested in Justin Herbert, then you don't have to move. He'll be there at 5. I don't think you can wait till 18 to get him, because you've got other quarterback-needy teams ahead of you, like Indianapolis, for instance, that would pull the trigger, I believe, on a Justin Herbert if he were available at their pick. But I think that it's going to be very intriguing to see where these quarterbacks actually go in this draft. I think you're going to see 4 first-round quarterbacks. You could easily see a 5th. That 32nd spot, like it was, 5-6 years ago for Teddy Bridgewater, where you trade back into the first round and get your guy to get that 5th-year option. Very viable in this particular draft. So it would not shock me to see a 5th quarterback, similar to the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson. Get that 5th-year option, get that guy at the back end of the first round. Would not shock me in the least to see one of those types of situations take place in this draft. But I think really there are going to be 4 guys that come off the board, and then there's going to be a question as to whether that 5th guy gets into the first round or not. So want to first thank you guys for joining me on this live stream. Again, we're going to do this every single week leading up to the draft from here on out. Talk about a position or 2. We're talking quarterbacks tonight. I'm going to give you my list. And when I get listy, I start listing things, and all my lists are comprised of 7s. So I'm going to give you my top 7 quarterbacks in this draft. And then I'll open up the floor to you guys, allow you to fire away, and we'll go from there. Also, like the video, subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so. Also, you guys know how the game is played. In case you don't, let me explain to you quickly, and then we'll jump into the show tonight. But the pecking order for how things go here, Super Chats are first, okay? So if you want to have your comment read, you want to jump straight to the front of the line, Super Chats are the way to do that. Then there's the phone lines. You see the number at the top of the screen. So if you want to call in, voice your opinion, ask a question, or give a comment, feel free to do so via the phone lines. And then lastly, there is the comment section on YouTube. Use the hashtag LouisTLive to have your comment read on the air. We'll try to get through as many comments tonight as possible. Make sure you keep your comments and your questions quarterback specific. Okay, we don't want to veer off into different positions, because we'll have a chance to do that. We're going to tackle every single position here on this program, Draft 101 Live. And so we don't need to talk about offensive linemen or corners or wide receivers tonight. We're going to have a chance to do that before the draft gets here. So want to keep it to quarterbacks only tonight. So with that being said, let's start the show off with my rankings for the quarterback position. And so let's take a look at what it looks like. So right now, as I mentioned, I've got 7 guys on my list of quarterbacks for the 2020 draft. And coming in at number 7 is Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts. This is a guy that is very, very intriguing to me. I think obviously you're going to have the right fit for him. I'd love to see him end up in somewhere like Tennessee. I'd love to see him in Tennessee. I'd love to see him in somewhere like Baltimore. Like, those would be really good destinations for him, if you ask me. I think he'd be a perfect fit for that kind of offense behind Ryan Tannehill and get a chance to learn behind a seasoned veteran. He'll have a really good run game because I think the Titans are going to select the running back Jonathan Taylor. And so even if they don't re-sign Derrick Henry, which it looks like it's becoming less and less likely as the days pass, they're still going to have a dominant run game behind that offensive line. And if Tannehill can duplicate what he did last year, Hurts will be able to watch and learn. And if anything were to happen to Tannehill, because remember, the Ryan Tannehill we knew going into last year was a backup. He was a backup quality quarterback in this league. Now all of a sudden he's viewed as a starter looking to cash in. He could go right back to being the same old Ryan Tannehill we knew in Miami. And so if I'm Tennessee, I'm still looking for another guy to back him up, and maybe Jalen Hurts is that guy. Either way, he's my number 7 quarterback in this draft. After him, you've got, or before him, you've got Jake Fromm at number 6. To me, of all the quarterbacks in this draft, I know who he is. I know who Jake Fromm is. I know what to expect out of him. He does not have the upside of even a Jalen Hurts, a guy that is behind him in this draft. But I know what he is. You know, his ceiling isn't as high, but his floor isn't that low. At worst, he's a 12-year NFL backup veteran quarterback. At best, he's a starter in this league that can take you to the playoffs. Probably won't win you anything of note, but he can give you the Alex Smith type of production. Win you a bunch of games, win you a division, have you in the playoffs, but probably won't get you over the hump. But there is value in knowing what you're getting from your quarterback, and I think that's what Jake Fromm is. You get to number 5. It's Jacob Eason for me, quarterback out of Washington. Man, does he have a big arm. And I'll give you another caveat if you haven't been paying attention. He's one of the few quarterbacks in this draft, he and Jake Fromm, that actually play under the center. You know, Eason, I think Eason took probably the most snaps under center. Fromm is right there, not too far behind, maybe even a little bit above Eason. But it's strange to see guys under center anymore. So when I see that, I get excited. Easier eval when you see a guy under center. Eason was under center at Washington, and so this man has a massive arm. He's a big arm quarterback, can make all the throws, but you know sometimes he just struggles with accuracy. Sometimes his feet get disheveled, and he panics sometimes when there's pressure. So he loves that Tony Romo spin out of the pocket, and he'll run into sacks. He comes in at number 5 for me. We can talk about him more a little bit later on in the show. Justin Herbert is at number 4 for me, quarterback out of Oregon. I'll leave it at this. I have a like-dislike relationship with Justin Herbert. You'll see that when I break him down on the Draft Prospects 101 series. That video is coming in the next 24 to 48 hours. And I got a like-dislike relationship with Justin Herbert, and you'll find out why. Number 3 for me is Jordan Love. This is the guy that I was telling you about since last draft when I was studying one of his teammates that got drafted in the 5th round or 5th or 6th round, I believe, by the Kansas City Chiefs. One of his running backs got drafted, and I stumbled into Jordan Love, and I'm like, man, this guy is amazing. And he took a massive step back in 2019 for various reasons. I'm not going to make excuses for him. Got to play better. You know, when you watch some of those games, you can make all the excuses you want for him. Different coach, different scheme, different weapons around him. Lost one of his big-time weapons at receiver, who was a graduate transfer in 2018. He graduated and wasn't there in 19. I just told you one of his weapons out of the backfield graduated. Dax Raymond was his tight end, big-time tight end for him. He went to the NFL. So or came out into the draft. So, yeah, he lost some weapons. I'm not making any excuses for him because some of these things aren't a lack of talent around him. It was just him not making better decisions. But the talent is undeniable here. And if he is married with the right coaching staff and the right system, this guy could blow up at the next level. You get to my top 2 quarterbacks in this draft, and you already know who they are. You already know. Number 2 is Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama. The injuries are a concern, but the talent is not. And so if he is able to be medically cleared and stay healthy somehow, some way, which I doubt. That's my biggest knock on him at the next level is this is a guy that was banged up at Alabama. The NFL is faster, bigger, stronger, and these guys are just as, if not more physical than the SEC. I just don't know if he can survive in the NFL or not. But again, the talent is definitely there for this guy to become one of the best in the business, but he's got to stay healthy. And number 1 in this draft is, of course, LSU's Joe Burrow. This guy is amazing. You watch the tape, and he just makes play after play after play. He finds ways to get things done. He's got some flaws, as does every prospect coming into the league, but there aren't things that can't be fixed. And so I see Joe Burrow as a guy that comes in, and if he's surrounded by talent, which Cincinnati is trying to do right now by bringing back A.J. Green, you got Joe Mixon in that backfield. I think they need to upgrade the tight end position. They did draft a tight end last year in the second round in Drew Sample, but I think they need to upgrade that position at tight end. I'd like to see them also, you'd like to see them stay healthy at receiver, really. A.J. Green there, John Ross there, and then you have the ex-Pittsburgh product, Tyler Boyd. If those guys stay healthy, that's a nice trio to have. But again, you're talking about a guy in A.J. Green that hasn't really played football in a year and a half, and you're talking about a guy in John Ross who probably hasn't played double-digit games in his young NFL career to this point. So, going to be tough. But there's talent there if they're healthy, and Joe Burrow is a guy that can make some plays if you surround him with talent. So there is my list of my top 7 quarterbacks. Let's now open up the floor to you guys. Phone lines are open. I'll get to any super chats if there are any, and we'll get this party rolling. So Matthew Manos, thank you for the super chat, Matthew Manos. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat. Matthew Manos says, "Sup, fam? Has me rolling with the double ups, HTTR." Thank you for the super chat once again, Matthew Manos. Oh, well, I guess he really likes the double ups. Double up, for Matthew Manos as he doubles up on the super chat. Thank you once again, Matthew Manos. And he says, two times with the super chat. Greatly appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Barrett Downing, my man BD, thank you for the super chat. Barrett Downing, good looking out, BD. As always, thank you for the super chat. Barrett writes, "Over Trent Lou, he's trying to hold us hostage because we have no option at left tackle. What's wrong with the culture too?" As I told you before, and I don't want to make this into a Redskins show, but as I told you before, he just doesn't want to be in Washington. And anything he can do to try to alienate himself from the team, like an astronomical number that he knows the Redskins aren't going to reach, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to force his way out of Washington. And honestly, I don't have a problem with it at this point. Go ahead and move on from him. Honor Immortal, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Honor Immortal. He says, "Are you afraid they will stand Chase Young up on third down like Kerrigan, Trent Murphy, Preston Smith, Andre Carter?" No, I don't think they're going to do that. And again, this is a quarterback show. This is a draft show, not a Redskins show. However, no, I don't think they're going to do that because we're changing defenses. We're not in a 3-4 defense anymore, so they're not going to ask Chase Young. They may on third downs try to switch it up and have him drop into coverage from time to time, but for the most part, hand in the dirt, he's going to be rushing up the field. That's what you should expect. Brendan McCloskey, thank you for the super chat, Brendan McCloskey. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Brendan. Brendan writes, "Little bro is a Steelers fan. He really wants Jalen Hurts. Do you think Hurts can fit in Pittsburgh?" Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the kind of quarterbacks they've been drafting in Pittsburgh. They've drafted a guy similar to him a few years ago in Joshua Dobbs. And as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, let me check my notes. I think that is actually the comp that I have for him is Joshua Dobbs. And it is. As a matter of fact, that's the comp I have for him. It's funny that you bring up the Steelers because they drafted Joshua Dobbs some, 4 or 5 years ago out of Tennessee. And I think they ended up trading him to Jacksonville. Matter of fact, I think last year they traded him to Jacksonville, and they could have used Joshua Dobbs. I don't know if he would have been any better than the guys they put out on the field in Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, but I would have liked to have seen him get an opportunity. And so I could definitely see him fitting in Pittsburgh. That's the kind of guy they went with in Pittsburgh behind Roethlisberger before, and he fits what they want to do. He's a guy that, really doesn't turn the football over all that much, doesn't take a ton of risks with the football. So that's the kind of guy they're looking for in Pittsburgh. They had way too many turnovers last year, which is what really undid their season last year. The defense played really well, but there were just too many mistakes offensively and not enough points either by the offense. And with Hurts' ability to use his legs, extend plays, it would really bode well for that Steelers offense. So I could definitely see him fitting in Pittsburgh, and he'll be available for them. I know they don't have a first-round pick, but he'll be around in the second round. I think initially when this process started, I thought he was a third-round pick all day long. Thought he was a late day 2 pick. Now I'm thought he was yes, I said that right, late day 2 pick. Now I'm starting to believe he's going to creep into the second round now. I was impressed with his combine performance. He's adamant about being a quarterback. He put on some good tape at Oklahoma. I think he's shown the ability to get it done. Everyone loves his mental makeup, what he did at Alabama, staying that extra year when he could have transferred, helped them win a national championship that year. Everyone remembers the SEC championship game. So I think he would be a really good fit in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, and it's just a matter of will they pull the trigger in the second round, because I don't think he'll be around in the third round. So thank you for the super chat, Brandon McCloskey. Definitely greatly appreciated. So next super chat is from Vlasic. Vlasic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Vlasic. Vlasic says, I got Fromm, Easton, and Herbert over Love. I just can't see him taking care of the football on the next level after throwing 17 interceptions in college. What do you think? So that's a really interesting point that you bring up, because yes, I think he was something like 20 touchdowns over 17 interceptions this past year. And the last time I saw a number that high in a player's last year going into the NFL draft, it was Jameis Winston in his final year at Florida State, and you see what he's become at the next level, a turnover machine. Now, I don't know if this LASIK surgery that he just recently had is going to correct anything, and if that's all of a sudden going to make him a more accurate quarterback and a guy that turns it over any less. However, to your point, 17 interceptions is a ton, all right, especially at the collegiate level where you really have no business throwing that many interceptions. I mean, there aren't a lot of great defensive backs, and you really got to make a ton of mistakes and some easy passes for guys to catch in order to turn it over in the air that many times. That being said, when you watch a lot of his interceptions, and I've had the opportunity to watch just about every single one of them in 2019, some of them are him getting hit as he's trying to throw the football. Ball kind of just flutters into the air and it gets picked off. A couple are tips off of the fingertips of his receivers and gets picked off. Some of them are bad decisions. Like you watch him against Wake, the very first game of the season, and he's got his team in the red zone, and he's throwing a corner route, and he just doesn't put enough air on it. Should be going towards the back pylon. He throws the corner route with not enough air. It's towards the front of the end zone pylon, and it gets picked off. And it's those kind of throws that, and then he throws another pick in that game. He threw 3 in that game, okay? He throws another pick on a outbreaking route, and it's just behind the receiver, and you know the rules to the game. If you're throwing an outbreaking route and you throw it inside, you run the risk of getting it picked off. And that one got picked off, and you're just saying, boy, bro, that's just bad ball placement. So there are things that can be cleaned up. But as I've mentioned before, and you have Easton, Herbert, and Fromm all over him, the thing that I can't get past with him and all of those guys that you have over him, is his playmaking ability. None of those other guys you just named have that. Herbert isn't a real playmaker, although he can create off schedule. He's not Jordan Love. Fromm definitely doesn't have a playmaking bone in his body. And Eason isn't that guy either. He's not a big athlete. He's not a guy that's going to move around all that much. And so there's not a lot of playmaking. And at the next level, if you want a guy that's going to change the game, you need a playmaker. Unless you're an elite pocket passer, and none of the guys that you just mentioned, in Eason, Herbert, or Fromm, are elite in the pocket. So if you're not elite in the pocket, you better have some kind of extra tool or tools that will make you a difference maker at the next level. Jordan Love has that extra tool, and it's his ability to be a playmaker, whether it's using his legs out in space or it's using his arm on the move. This guy can extend plays and make those plays. And for me, it's that upside that has him at number 3 on my list, and not and over a guy like Eason, or over a guy like Herbert, or of course over a guy like Fromm. For me, there's no way you can have Jake Fromm over Jordan Love, unless the interceptions and the turnovers are a big deal. And Love has some fumbles too. It's not like it's just interceptions. He's got some issues with turnovers in general. So I understand that gripe that you have with him. But at the same time, if I'm drafting a guy, I'm drafting based off of upside. To me, you may not find a quarterback in this draft with more upside than Jordan Love. Okay, so that's why he's number 3 on my list. But great comment there and question by Vlasic. Thank you once again for the super chat. So got a couple more super chats. I'm going to go ahead and take those. eFarms36, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. eFarms36, thank you for your contribution. Also, Aldine Atkins, my man Double A, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much, Double A. Double A writes, still like Fromm. Am I crazy? Like the video, fam. So y'all heard him. If you're out there, like the video. No, it's not crazy. I told you, I actually like Jake Fromm. And as a matter of fact, get to my notes. I'll tell you why I have him rated in this draft. I've got him as a mid-second to early third. So I've got him coming off the board in day 3. And I know some people that don't. I know some people that do. I thought DJ said it best. He is an acquired taste. Either you really like him or you don't. Like, I like him. I don't love him. That's the difference. I like him a lot. Jake, you can win with Jake Fromm in this league. Listen to what I'm saying. You can win with Jake Fromm in this league. The problem is there's a ceiling on Jake Fromm. There's only so much you can do with Jake from State Farm. And so if you draft a guy like Jake Fromm, my comp for him is Andy Dalton. Similar size, similar arm strength. I think Andy might even have a stronger arm than he does, but not by much. And, the similar athleticism. And you could win with Andy Dalton. You can still win with Andy Dalton. But there's a ceiling on what you can do with Andy Dalton at quarterback. You can win with Alex Smith. But as the Chiefs found out, as the 49ers found out, there's only so much you can do with Alex Smith. He can win you ball games, and Jake Fromm can win you ball games. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Jake Fromm will manage the hell out of a football game. Jake Fromm will not turn it over. He will do the things necessary to move the sticks. He will take the underneath throw. He will convert 3rd and 5 over and over and over and over and over again. You'll look up and Jake Fromm will be 21 of 29 for 192 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception, and they'll win the game 23-16. And that's Jake Fromm. And he'll do it over and over again. He'll do it the next week. He'll do it the week after that. And if you mess around and give him too many opportunities, he'll hit you for, 278. And you'll be like, whoa, Jake Fromm in the house. Okay? But that's Jake Fromm. And either you like him or you don't. And I like him. So no, you're not crazy for that. Thank you for the super chat once again, Double A. Got another super chat. This one is from my man JP. What's going on, JP? Thank you for the super chat. John Perez, greatly appreciated. JP writes, out of all the quarterbacks in this draft, Herbert might be my favorite one. Plus, we could see 3 quarterbacks go in the top 10, maybe a 4th if a team trades up. So let's take this comment piece by piece. So uh, out of all the quarterbacks in this draft, he says Herbert might be his favorite one. Again, Herbert has some elite traits. His arm strength. He's a big dude. I mean, you don't see too many 6'6", 200 and 35-pound quarterbacks walking around the NFL landscape. And honestly, this guy was 240 plus at Oregon, and he actually slimmed down for the combine to get into better shape to run a better time. But it wouldn't shock me that if he got back to 240, 245, he's a big mofo. So right there, then and there, you got elite size at the end at the quarterback position. You got elite arm talent with Justin Herbert. And again, even if he puts on some weight and that 4.6 that he ran turns into a 4.7, who gives a shit? That's still a great time and great athleticism. And we saw it in the Rose Bowl, all right, against Wisconsin. We saw this guy running all over the place, 3 rushing touchdowns in that game, including the game winner at the very end. This is a guy that can move. He's athletically gifted. There's a lot to like with Justin Herbert. There's a lot not to like with Justin Herbert, as I've told you already. Got a like-dislike relationship with Justin Herbert. But again, the talent is undeniable there. It's just about his ability to put it together. I've got some real concerns with him, though. I'll voice them when I drop the video on Justin Herbert. But if you guys keep probing tonight, I might ultimately end up telling you what those concerns are. But I totally get where you're coming from in terms of liking Herbert. I think he's another one of those guys you either really like him or you kind of lukewarm on him. And so I'm meh on him. Honestly, if it were up to me, he wouldn't be drafted in the first round of this draft, but he's going to be. He's going to be. I think, honestly, when it's all said and done, he'll be the 3rd quarterback off the board. And I think Love will be the 4th and final quarterback off the board in the first round, but we will see. You also said we could see 3 quarterbacks going to top 10, maybe a 4th if a team trades up. I don't think there's any way you see 4 teams take quarterbacks in the top 10. I think 3 is realistic. I don't think 3 is going to happen either. But 3 is very realistic because you know what happens to the quarterback position. We see them get pushed up all the time. You're going to see 2 for sure. That's a given. All right. Tua and Joe Burrow will both be selected in probably the top 5 picks, if not the top 3. But you're going to see 2 for sure in the top 10. A 3rd could enter the fray because you've got a little conglomerate there at 5, 6, and 7 between the Dolphins, Chargers, and Panthers, who all could use a signal caller. So you could, like you said, you could see 3 guys go off the board in the top 10. It's not inconceivable that happens. And I don't think you see a 4th, but stranger things have happened. So I would not rule that out all the way, but highly unlikely that we see a 4th team take a quarterback in the top 10. But you will see a 4th team take a quarterback in the first round. I do believe that, and I'm sticking to that steadfast. So with that being said, phone lines are open. We'll take some comments as we have gotten through all of the super chats. Let's get to some of your comments now, since there are no calls right now. Captain Spartan 04 says, here's how the quarterbacks will go. Burrow to the Bengals, Tua to the Dolphins, Love to the Colts, Herbert to the Chargers, Eason to the Bucks, Hurts to the Packers, Fromm to the Saints, and James Morgan will be the next quarterback taken. Okay, so he's already got them all situated in locations, and I agree with Burrow. I agree with Tua. I don't know if Love ends up in Indy. I could see a guy like Justin Herbert ending up in Indy. Obviously, the Chargers come first, which is why he has Herbert to the Chargers, and it makes a ton of sense. I could see the Chargers. This is the thing. If you look at the Chargers right now, and you look at the reason they moved on from Phillip Rivers, it's because he turned the football over too much. If that's your biggest concern, then you're not drafting Jordan Love. You're going with Justin Herbert. And so I think I do agree with that now that I kind of sit and think about it, because the biggest reason for cutting Phillip Rivers loose could have been his diminishing arm strength and his age. He did not look like the same player last year. But then also at this point, they're just tired of the turnovers. He's killing them. They play good enough defense. They run the football good enough. They do everything well enough except take care of the football. And so I think Anthony Lynn is at the point now where he just wants someone to be a caretaker, which is why he's perfectly fine trotting Tyrod Taylor out there, because he knows the one thing Tyrod Taylor will not do is turn the football over. He may not win you ball games. He's not going to lose you games. And he feels like, look, with the amount of talent we have on this team on both sides of the football, we should be just fine if we just don't turn it over. So I could see that happening. Then you go to Love with the Colts. That's an interesting spot for him. There's so much talent there, and I think they're going to upgrade the talent at wide receiver this offseason as well, not to mention them already having some talented guys out there as it is. Eason to the Bucks, that's a really good fit for him with his arm strength. I could see Jacob Eason in there, no risk it, no biscuit, and so I think that's the kind of arm strength that our guy out there is looking for, Uncle Bruce. So Hurts to the Packers, I don't think I see that one. But then again, they had your boy last year, or they drafted your boy out of UCLA a few years back. And if they'll draft him, then why not Jalen Hurts? Hurts might be a better version of the ex-UCLA product that was out there for a while. From to the Saints, that's a good for. You know what else I heard too? I think I heard it during the combine, as a matter of fact. What about From to the Falcons as a backup quarterback behind Matt Ryan? That'd be a good spot for him. But From to the Saints, that's cool. That's actually not a bad spot for him. All of these make sense. They do. They really do. But anyway, I got to call him and go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Lou? It's Ree.
Hey, what's going on, Ree?
It's been a while.
It has, man. I'm glad to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear from you. So, draft season.
Yep.
It's awesome.
It is. Always.
Go ahead.
No. I said it is always. I was just responding to your comment. Go ahead.
So is Jordan Love still your guy?
Still my guy. I look, he had a rough year. I can't deny that. I'm not going to make excuses for him. There are plenty of excuses out there for him if you love him like I do, but I'm not going to use that as a crutch. He made too many mistakes. He's got to clean up some of those mistakes, but the talent is off the charts. His ability, I can't wait to break his tape down, because his ability to escape the pocket, he's actually got some moves outside of the pocket when he gets out there. There's one play that he breaks this dude off so bad that he ends up stumbling himself. But it's a nice gain, and it just shows the athleticism. Some of these throws, you go, wow, that's pretty damn impressive. And then there's sometimes where you go, come on, dude, don't do that. Come on, you got to be better than that. So, yeah, he's still my guy. Still my guy, though.
Have you seen his release? It's silky smooth.
Yeah, and it's quick. It's like rapid fire. You know what I mean? Just gets rid of it. It's like flick of the wrist, ball's out, and it's flying. So there's a lot to like. There's a lot to work with, for sure.
It's like borderline graceful, like the way the way it comes out.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone talks about Tua, and everyone's on the fence about Tua and his injury. If you just look at this guy's college numbers, insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
his numbers are insane.
I mean, look, let's take a look at his numbers from the last 2 years. 425 of 607, which equals a 70% completion percentage. Okay, so that's over the last 2 years. 7 rushing touchdowns, 6,806 yards passing, 76 touchdowns over 9 interceptions. Okay, like these are cartoon type numbers. All right, and that's in 24 games spanning 18 and 19. Like, his numbers are ridiculous. They are.
It's unbelievable. I mean, if you just take a look at it, like, just looking at his numbers, I know you're not supposed to get caught up in the numbers, but numbers seldom, they don't usually lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that a lot of people feel like if he didn't have the injuries, he'd be the number one pick in the draft. There's a reason. There's a debate that would have been had. I still think that Burrow would have been, if Burrow would have done what he did in 2019, I still think he's the number one quarterback, but it would have been a hell of a debate. It would have been a debate reminiscent of, Winston, Mariota, and Luck, Robert Griffin III, Luck, or going all the way back to Manning, Leaf. Like, it would have been one of those types of debates, but instead it's pretty much Burrow in the driver's seat because of the injuries.
Someone's going to look at his numbers and say, "This kid's unbelievable." They said, "We got to make sure he takes care of himself, and we got to make sure that we try to keep him healthy." But someone's going to fall in love with that, and he's going to be taken high. He's not going to be on the board long
at all. I think he's going to be the third pick in the draft when it's all said and done. I truly believe that.
I'll tell you, Lou. No matter what happens, regardless of what happens with the Bucs quarterback situation, BA has taken one of these kids.
I believe so too. I read the comment already from my man Captain Spartan, and he said that Eason is going to be the guy in Tampa Bay. So we'll see.
BA wants a guy that can chuck that thing far.
Yeah.
And Jacob Eason can do that.
Exactly. That's why I said it's actually a really good fit. So we'll see what happens.
So one more, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Can I ask another question?
Yep, shoot.
What do you see happening with Jameis? What do you think's going on? Do you think he's staying?
I believe that he will end up in Tampa. I do, but
because BA is kind of mum because he's like, they're like, we're looking at all options, but we can win with them. But then he's like, but we also want to see what's behind door number 2, but we can win with them,
Right. Yeah, I
maybe
think
maybe it's a leverage tactic.
It's he just doesn't want to show his hand. If I think he wants to keep all his options open, but at the same time, it doesn't really do him any good to commit to Jameis. You know what I mean? Right now, if they want him back, they've pretty much got first dibs on him because I believe Jameis wants to come back to Tampa. So, I think,
me too.
I think, and I don't think anyone's going to be beating down, Jameis Winston's door to get him to their team. So if they want him back and they don't land someone else that they may be interested in, and then I think that he wants to make sure he keeps that door open to have Jameis back. So
yeah, he says that he hasn't talked to Jameis. I think he's full of it.
Yeah. Well, technically they're not supposed to be able to talk to these guys about football, but yeah, I'm with you. I think they, if nothing else, they've reached out to his agent. He may not have talked to Jameis directly, but he probably talked to his agent.
But you know what happens in this time of year, Lou? Everyone says, "Oh well, you can't tamper before the legal tampering period," but it's a bunch of baloney.
Yeah, nobody.
Coaches talk to players.
Yeah, of course. We all know that's not the case anymore. But
yeah, but I see him coming back too. I mean, it's just like. We're this close, but we're also so far away at the same time.
I'm about to say, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth because I was about to say, you're so close, but yet still so far away. So
it's like I can taste it, Lou. I can taste
it. I bet you can, Ree. Hey, man, thanks for calling in, man. It's always good to talk to you.
All right, Lou, take it easy.
Likewise. All right. That was my guy, Ree, our resident Buccaneers fan. So, got another super chat. Going to go ahead and read that one. This one from Metro Cash. Metro Cash, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated, Metro Cash. He writes, where do you think is the best place for Jalen? Jalen who? Help me on that one. We're going to talk about some of these other quarterbacks here in a little bit. You got to help me with that. Jalen. I have no idea. Oh, I'm tripping. You just spelt his name weird and it threw me off. You're talking about Jalen Hurts. Excuse me. I think, I've said it already, I think a great fit for him would be Tennessee. I love what they did with Tannehill last year. And to me, he is a guy that can do all of the things that Mariota did and can probably do it a little bit better. I think he can do everything that Ryan Tannehill has done for them. And again, he's going to need a little bit of time to develop. And I think that's why a great situation would be Tennessee, because they wouldn't be looking for him to play right away. You get Tannehill in there and you draft somebody to be behind Tannehill. And, you get Tannehill to a 3-year deal and you can get out of it after 2 years. You know what I mean? With a club option for the 3rd year, and gives you some flexibility that if he reverts back to Miami Ryan Tannehill instead of the Tennessee Titans Tannehill you got last year, you can move on from him sooner rather than later. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that situation. But I think Tennessee's a great spot for him. As we talked about, the Steelers are another really fascinating destination for Jalen Hurts and his skill set. You could see him in a number of places. I talked about Baltimore. That's always the easy, low-hanging fruit. But the fact of the matter is, I know they took Trace McSorley last year, and they actually really like him. But Bob Griffin was your backup. He is now a free agent. I don't know if he's going to be back in Baltimore or not. But in the event that he isn't back in Baltimore, you're going to need someone else in there. Why not a guy like Jalen Hurts? I'm just saying he kind of fits that profile a little bit better to me than that of Trace McSorley, but we will see. So I think there are a number of really good spots for him. And it's just a matter of what's your preference? What pick are you willing to spend? Because I think he's going to come off the board a little bit sooner than we all anticipated when this process first got underway. Like I said, I had him pegged as a 3rd-round pick initially. And the more I watch the combine performance and some of the other things you start to take into consideration and the intangibles that this guy brings to the table. Again, I keep harking on the Alabama 2018 season, but he was a huge part of that national championship. And if not for him staying there and biting his tongue and swallowing his pride, they don't win the national championship. They don't beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. And a lot of people respect Jalen Hurts for that. And I think he is a guy that a lot of people are enamored with in this process. And I think he comes off the board in the 2nd round. So we'll see what happens. Anyway. So, got another call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Go on, Lou. It's JP. How you doing?
What's up, JP?
Good, man. Listen, it's draft time, Lou.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It's my favorite time of the year. Watch it every single year.
A lot of people enjoy the draft. It's the most hopeful that every fan is. The most hopeful time for every fan, essentially.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So since this is a quarterback-esque show, obviously I sent you the super chat about potentially 3 quarterbacks going in the top 5. That's for certain. I wouldn't necessarily rule out a 4th.
Yeah.
Here's why.
Okay.
You look at the Indianapolis Colts. They lost Andrew Luck. Mm-hmm. I personally think the jury is still out on Jacoby Brissett. I know he's got some game. I know you like him a lot. He could be a capable starter. Mm-hmm. I think it would be possible if the coaching staff, I think it's possible they might like Jordan Love or Herbert and they could come up to 10, or maybe a team, let's say maybe Tampa Bay comes up to 11 to grab a guy they want. I wouldn't necessarily rule out a team trading up into the top 10 or top 15 for a quarterback. Tampa Bay is going to take one, that's for certain, because Jameis Winston's done there. Obviously, I was wrong about him. I thought he would be a great quarterback, but guess not. And then, of course, the Colts, they don't have, obviously, like I said before, the Colts don't have a quarterback. Again, they could, oh, man, I'm spitting out words here right now. But anyway, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. I think they're going to end up getting a veteran, and they may still want a young guy. I don't think they believe in Jacoby Brissett. I think they feel like he's a capable quarterback in this league, but they don't think he is the long-term answer. If that's the case, you could see them go after a veteran. Phillip Rivers has been rumored to them, among other names. And if you get a Phillip Rivers, he's a 1 to 2 year stopgap. He's a bridge guy to your young quarterback. And if you don't think Jacoby Brissett is that guy, then you need to draft someone. So Indy's is very intriguing, to say the least. But I don't see them trading up. I think if someone falls into their lap, they'd be willing to take him if they really like him. I don't know if they're willing to give up draft capital to do it, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that could be true, though. Again, also another team I think you might want to look out for is the Panthers. Mm-hmm. I know they need some help on that defensive line. I know a lot of mock drafts have them taking Derek Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. Mm-hmm. But this new owner, man, David Tepper, the new Panthers owner, he's not afraid to go out and make these moves. We saw what he did going out and getting it was Matt Rule from Baylor. I think that was who they hired.
Yep.
I wouldn't necessarily rule them out of the quarterback market in terms of the draft. I also wouldn't rule them out in free agency.
Right.
David Tepper, you got to remember, Lou, he was not married to Cam Newton.
Right.
Because it was the original owner. I think it was Jerry Richardson who was married to Cam Newton. And he was gone. He had that nonsense with the sexual harassment. He had to sell the team, and Dave Tepper bought the team. David Tepper is going to want his own quarterback. Matt Rule is going to want his own quarterback. And it's possible that there's going to be someone up there that they want. It could be, again, it could be Herbert. It could be Love. You're going to hear a lot of things. Again, and David Tepper is not. It sounds like he's not afraid to make these type of moves. I'm not saying this will happen, but I wouldn't be surprised the one bit if something insane happens and the Panthers amazingly somehow steal the number one pick away from the Bengals to take Joe Burrow. I would not be surprised by that at all, because this owner is in the news a lot late with all these splashy moves he's made as of late.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't steal it. The Bengals would have to give it up. But the Bengals are so desperate for a QB. Like, first of all, nobody wants to go to Cincinnati. No one's begging to go to Cincinnati. Like, in order for you to get talent in Cincinnati, you have to draft it. And no free agent is going to sign with Cincinnati. They don't pay. They don't even like paying their own guys. So in order to get a talented football player in Cincinnati, you have to draft him. You can't get any better than number one. They worked hard to be the worst team in football last year. They're not going to squander this opportunity away by letting Carolina come up. And I get it. The ties to Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator that helped spark the 60-touchdown season by Joe Burrow. It sounds great in the fairy tale land. Yeah, that's the perfect happy ending there. But there's no way Cincinnati's trading away the pick. And I think, like you said, they're going to be in the market for a quarterback. Are they satisfied with one that falls to them at 6 or 7, wherever they are in the draft? Or are you cool with Cam Newton for this year, maybe passing on the quarterback position altogether and maybe coming back and taking another shot at it next year? Or maybe you get a guy later on in this draft. Like, this is a draft where you can find other guys in this draft. Doesn't necessarily have to be. How about Jalen Hurts in Carolina? How about Jalen Hurts?
Oh man, that would be insane.
You know what I mean? Like, you get your second round pick, and Jalen Hurts is sitting there in your Carolina, and he's a much shorter version of Cam Newton. Obviously, not 6'5", 245 pounds, but he can do a lot of the things Cam Newton can do. Why not Jalen Hurts in Carolina? And so I think he can run Joe Brady's offense, and so.
Of course he can.
Why not? So it'll be interesting to see how the Carolina Panthers approach this season, because it sounds like Cam is going to be back. Sounds like they're happy with his physical progress. And, they're drafting pretty high. They're not used to drafting this high. So if you got an opportunity to snag a guy, they may try to do that. So we'll see what they do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, without question. Hey, say what you want to say. Say what you want about everyone. Say what they want about Cam Newton and his baby ass attitude. He's a beast on the football field. And one more thing I want to ask you, and then I'll let you go. There's been a lot of regards with the second pick. If are going to trade down with the Dolphins, or the Lions are going to trade up, are going to trade down, and the Dolphins come up to 3. I don't want like I said yesterday, I don't want no parts of trading the second pick under any circumstances. Chase Young sitting on the board, you better take Chase Young. And the highest I think the Dolphins are going to come up for Tua is 3 to Detroit, because Detroit has already said that they're willing to trade down, they're open for business, and Detroit's going to get a good offer from the Dolphins when they move down to 5, and they could still get Okuda, which is a lot of the Lions fans want, and the fact that, and obviously we get Chase Young, and then another team I wouldn't rule out trading up to the top 5 is the Chargers, because you don't. I still think they're going to take Herbert at 6. That I'm adamant on. But I also wouldn't rule out Jordan Love at number 6. I think that might be a little bit too high for him. But also, it would not surprise me if either the Dolphins or the Chargers trade up, or the Chargers could trade up to number 3 with Detroit and take Tua. But again, I don't think they have a big enough package to give the Lions in terms of trading up. So in my opinion, either the Dolphins or the Chargers are going to come up to 3 to take Tua. The Bengals and the Redskins are pretty much locks to take Joe Burrow and Chase Young at 1 and 2 respectively.
Yep, sounds good to me, man. Appreciate you, JP.
Hey, no problem, man.
No doubt. I really am fascinated by this quarterback class and how it's going to shake out, man. I mean, it's really interesting. I'm going to get to some more comments here. Then I'm gonna read off some other names in this draft class that you may be aware of, you may not be aware of at the quarterback position. But let's get to a couple more comments first. Maybe someone will bring them up in the comment section. We will see. KT the Southern Gent says, HTTR/Who Dat all the way from Louisiana. Who's a better fit for the Saints? Love, Hurts, Eason, Fromm, or another quarterback? The best fit for them would be, if you're thinking in terms of Sean Payton, Fromm probably, because he's the guy that's going to take care of. He's like a less athletic version of Teddy Bridgewater. So in that regard, you're thinking Fromm, a guy that's going to take care of the football, distribute it the way that he's supposed to in Sean Payton's offense, get the ball into his playmakers' hands, let them do the rest. Because in Sean Payton's offense, I mean, yeah, Breeze is chucking it all over the place, and he can still push it down the field. But, dump it down to Kamara, dump it down to Michael Thomas, and these guys are getting yards after catch. You put it in the right spots where they can catch and get some yards after the catch, they'll do the rest. So Fromm would fit there. I tell you, somebody that would be really interesting would be Jordan Love in New Orleans. To me, Sean Payton could probably get the best out of him. With the talent that they have around him and what we've seen him do with Taysom Hill, and I'm not saying you can do that because he's not built like Taysom Hill and he can't run like Taysom Hill, but he's an athlete. And after watching what Sean Payton was able to do with Taysom Hill and how Sean Payton was really enamored with Taysom Hill, and to the point where I think if Breeze wasn't coming back, they would have chosen Hill over Teddy Bridgewater. But that being said, Jordan Love for me is the guy that would be really interesting in New Orleans because of his mobility and his ability to, throw the football. Quick release, as I mentioned, big, strong arm, can push it down the field. You got playmakers everywhere. He would be fully capable. And let's not forget what 2018 looked like for Jordan Love. Everybody wants to talk about the 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, but 2018 was a massive year. I think it was 32-6. So, you can sit here and harp on 20-17, and I get that. That's the most recent, last indelible image in your mind. I get that. And I'm not going to beat anybody up for continuing to harp on the 17 interceptions. That's a lot of turnovers. And that, not to mention, that doesn't even take into account the fumbles. But if you watch 2018, if you watch 2019, you see all the tools. He's toolsy, man. As I mentioned, I'd say Love would be the best fit in New Orleans, to be honest with you. No, just knowing Sean Payton and knowing his ability to get the most out of his quarterbacks and really all the players on his roster offensively, I'd say it'd be Love, but the Saints wouldn't be in a position to draft him. I don't think he'll be around by the time the Saints get on the board. So there's that. Anyway, let's see. Got KT the Southern Gent again says, which quarterback has the best potential to be a steal value pick for a team? So, funny that you asked, because I wanted to get through my list of quarterbacks that I feel like have a draftable grade in this draft. Now, I will say this. Obviously, you got Burrow. You've got Tua. You've got, I got Jordan Love as third, as you can see. Oh, I didn't even turn it back on so you guys can see my list of quarterbacks. That is my fault. I apologize for that. There it is. So you got Jordan Love as a draftable quarterback. Obviously, Justin Herbert, Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm, and Jalen Hurts. Everybody knows those names. Okay, that's 7 guys. Those are the guys in my top 7. My 8th quarterback, and I think Captain Spartan said it best. James Morgan is probably going to be the next quarterback off the board. But if it were up to me, the next quarterback off the board would be Steven Montez out of Colorado. This is a guy that I look at, and he's got everything you're looking for, man. He's big at 6'5", 230. He can move. What did he run at the combine? Let me pull up my combine notes. I think he ran 4.58, if I'm not mistaken. Don't get me the lying, but man, he's a big athletic son of a bitch. I tell you what. Steven Montez ran a 4.58, so I was right. At 6'4", 231, running a 4.58 with a cannon for right arm. This guy has everything you're looking for, man. Steven Montez was actually somewhat impressive at the combine. I thought he had a really good day. You're going to see his draft stock potentially go up a little bit because someone's going to fall in love with all of the measurables. Like I said, man, if this were a beauty contest, this were a beauty pageant, this man would be one of the finalists, man, in terms of what you're looking for in an NFL quarterback. But he's so maddening. My comp for him is Jay Cutler. You know, Jay Cutler passed the eyeball test, man. Jay Cutler was a really good athlete. Jay Cutler had a ridiculous arm. And Jay Cutler could make any throw. Jay Cutler, when he was on, he was deadly. You know, those first 2 years in Denver with Mike Shanahan, ridiculous. Jay Cutler took the Chicago Bears to the NFC Championship game. Like, Jay Cutler is or was a really, really good football player when he wasn't turning the football over. All right. But he ultimately became a meme, Smoking Jay. All right. And Steven Montez is just frustrated because he will make the eye-popping throw, and you'll be like, yo, Steven, seriously? You doing that, bro? And then he'll make the most ridiculous boneheaded mistake. He's like the type of guy that will throw a left-handed interception. And you'll go, Steven, really? You doing that, bro? Like, the same exact phrase, meaning 2 totally different things. And that's Steven Montez for you. But I've got a mid to late day 3 grade on him. A guy that I wouldn't consider taking until the 5th round, but I'd love to develop him. I'd love to put him on my bench. I'd love to have him backing up a really good seasoned veteran in this league and learning. I'd love to see him get somewhere and get coached up, man, because this guy has talent. And that would be the next guy that I would take in this draft if it were up to me. After Steven Montez, then you get into these murky waters here. And this guy right here, man, I don't know about this guy, but I can tell you what, the tape is fascinating. Anthony Gordon, quarterback out of Washington State, is my 9th quarterback in this draft after Steven Montez, who is my 8th. Right now I have a mid-day 3 grade on him. So, again, 5th round, 6th round, right in that same neighborhood where we saw the last Washington State quarterback Gardner Minshew taken off the board, I think is when you start considering a guy like Anthony Gordon. Now, the reason Anthony is getting some love from me is because of last year and the guy that paved the way for him and Gardner Minshew. If you remember me this time last year, I totally dismissed Gardner Minshew. I told everybody that was bringing up Gardner Minshew's name, the kid from North Dakota State that ended up getting drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers. I said, look, don't talk to me about these guys. They're not getting drafted. Don't talk to me about these guys. Easton Stick is his name. Easton Stick and Gardner Minshew were the names I kept bringing up. Like, don't talk to me about Easton Stick. Don't talk to me about Gardner Minshew. You guys remember me saying that last year. And I had to come and eat my words. I had to offer up a 00 because I was wrong. And I'm not going to do that to Anthony Gordon because of what Gardner Minshew did last year. Coming out of that air raid attack under Mike Leach, the guy threw the football damn near 700 times last year. Think about that for a second. Let that resonate. All right? He threw the football 687 times last season. That's a career for some guys. He did it in one season at Washington State. And completed 72% of his passes, 5,579 yards, 48 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. So you're talking about a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's not bad, especially for as many passing attempts as he had. My comp for him is Derek Carr. You know, this guy has a quick release. I could see him. He throws from multiple platforms like Derek Carr does. He looks just like Derek Carr, seriously. I tell you what, man, he'll be interesting if he finds his way onto an NFL roster. He'll be interesting. I'll say that. I like him. I don't love him, but I like him. He's a JUCO transfer, so he's played some football. James Morgan is my 10th quarterback in this draft. I'm lukewarm on James Morgan. A lot of people, he's gaining traction. A lot of people love this guy. I thought he had a really strong combine. You watch the tape, though, and there's some games where you go, hey, man. Hey, man. James Morgan. You watch that Arkansas State bowl game, his final game of his collegiate career. You go, hey, man, this James Morgan kid, all right? You watch him in that Miami win. All right, that was a big win for them over the Hurricane. You say, hey, man, this James Morgan kid's got something to him. Then you go watch him in that damn Tulane game, or you watch him versus FAU, and you're like, this James Morgan kid is horrible. So I've got this wide-ranging spectrum with James Morgan, man. On one hand, I'm like, man, this dude, there's something here to him. And then on the other hand, I'm like, man, I can't do this. I can't do it. So I think someone's going to fall for the measurables, 6'4", 213. He's got a really good arm. Sometimes I think he lacks touch. You know, he's got a receiver 6 yards away from him, and he's throwing a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Everything seems to be fastball. Like, he doesn't have a changeup. Everything seems to be a heater. Whether it's a deep out, or it's a comeback, or it's a check down over the middle of the field. Like, dude, what are you doing? So I've got my questions, and he's erratic at times. You know, ball will sail on him in a hurry. I've got my questions about James Morgan, but I've got a late day 3 to undrafted grade on him right now. Matt Cassell is my comp for James Morgan. We'll see what happens with him. I think teams are falling in love with him. It wouldn't shock me if my man Captain Spartan is right, and after you get past the top 7, Morgan is the first guy off the board. Then we'll see. This is a guy that no one's talking about that I'm somewhat intrigued by, and maybe he doesn't get drafted, but I think he ends up on an NFL roster. In what capacity, I don't know. He'll end up in someone's camp. I can assure you of that. I don't know. Look, if the Boykin kid out of TCU can end up in the league, and if he wasn't beating up on females, he probably, Trevon Boykin, if he can get in the league, I think Tyler Huntley deserves a shot in the league. So 6'1", 205-pound quarterback out of Utah. I've got a mid-day 3 pick grade on him because I think there are places where he fits. Obviously, Baltimore is always what you come up with. And again, it's low-hanging fruit. I know. I get it. And I apologize for reaching at the low hanging fruit, but a fit's a fit, you know, and they need a guy out there. And I know Trace McSorley's out there. I don't care that Trace McSorley's out there. This is an upgrade to me. So when you watch him, he does a lot of the things that they require the quarterbacks to do in Baltimore, and I think he could fit somewhere like that. I think he could fit in a Jacksonville behind Gardner Minshew. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a similar skill set to Gardner Minshew, I think. And he's a guy that actually takes care of the football, doesn't make a ton of mistakes. I could see him being a Charger. You know, if you like Tyrod Taylor, why not like Tyler Huntley? You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely going to depend on the fit, for sure. But I watched him, and I watched the guy that grew. I wasn't impressed with him in 2018, and then there were injuries and things of that nature throughout his career. This is a guy, he missed 8 games over the last 3 years. 5 and 18 with a broken collarbone, 3 in 2017 with a shoulder. So he didn't miss any last year. You're hoping that trend continues. And this is a guy right now, he's my 11th rated quarterback in this draft. And I've got him comped to Troy Smith. I don't know if you guys remember Troy Smith. Was Troy Smith a Heisman Trophy winner? I don't know why I feel like he was at Ohio State. Maybe I'm tripping. I might be tripping. I thought Troy Smith won the Heisman Trophy. Either way, I remember him getting drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in like the 5th or 6th round, something like that. Stayed in the league for a cup of tea. I think he was in the league for about a good 2-3 year stretch, and then kind of, you know, flamed out there. But Tyler Huntley, to me, has what it takes to end up on an NFL roster. I mean, he'll get a shot whether he gets drafted or not. I feel that way. He'll be in somebody's camp. So finally, my last draftable quarterback, or the last quarterback with a draftable grade for me, is Cole McDonald. Now, I'll just let you know right now, Cole McDonald doesn't have a farm EIEIO. No, stop. Seriously. 6'4", 220. He's got a lot of things that intrigue you. When you watch him, he's got a weird throwing motion, though. When you watch him, you're like, it's like he brings it from the bottom all the way over the top. It's a true over-the-top motion, but it's slow. It's elongated at times. It's not quite Byron Leftwich. I think it's more, I heard someone say Aaron Brooks. It's Aaron Brooks-ish. I think it's more Chad Pennington-like, just with more zip. But either way, it's not a great throwing motion. But that aside, if it gets there, it gets there. I really don't care. Phillip Rivers has the worst throwing motion I've ever seen in my life. It gets there. Who cares, right? But this is a guy that at Hawaii did some really good things. The turnovers are a concern with me. And his turnovers are frustrating because it's like, dude, you didn't see that defender standing right there? Like, it's too many of those. You know? Like with Jordan Love, he sees the right thing. He makes the right decision. It's just not the best throw. And you're like, okay, I can clean that up. The guy that continuously throws it into windows that aren't even there, that aren't open, you're like, those are the Jameis Winston type interceptions. Those are the ones that piss you off. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that have you pulling your hair out and are like, man, we got to get this guy the hell out of here. I can't take this. You know what I mean? Those are the interceptions that drive you nuts. The ones where you're like, man, he made the right read. It was the perfect decision. It was in timing and rhythm of the play. He just didn't make an accurate throw. He's like, and you know he can make the throw. You're like, okay, we just got to clean that up. But he did everything right. With McDonald, you're like, dude, you can't throw that football there, man. That's not a good decision. And it's too many of those for me on tape. But he's athletically gifted. What did he run? He ran a 4.54, so he can move. You see it on tape. He's 6'3". He checked in at 6'3", 215. He's a good-sized NFL quarterback. I've got a mid to late day 3 grade on him. And my player comp for him, you may remember this guy, you may not. Trent Edwards. All right. Trent Edwards of Buffalo Bills fame, the ex-Stanford Cardinal Trent Edwards, who was drafted, I think, in the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, by the Buffalo Bills, and just could never get right for whatever reason. All the talent was there. and I see a lot of the same things. And I never loved Trent Edwards' throwing motion either. And I think that's who he reminds me of. So those are the other quarterbacks for me that are draftable in this draft. Don't think all of them are going to get drafted, however. So let's see. Got a super chat from my man BE. Thank you for the super chat, BE. Greatly appreciated. BE writes, trying to call in, but nobody is answering. LOL. I was reading off my list. I didn't see the call. If you would like to call in, you can call in right now. We are at the hour 15-minute mark, so I think we'll go for 15 more minutes, get us to 11 o'clock, and call it a show. So no phone call, so we will go to the comment section, and let's see where we are. Captain's, okay, do have a call now. It's my man BE. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Finally, I get it.
Hey, I appreciate you continuing to call in, man. What's going on, BE?
Ready for the draft?
Aren't we all?
This quarterback class kind of reminds me of the one 2 years ago with Darnold, Rosen, Allen, and Mayfield.
Yep.
How it's like, we know three are going in the top 10, and then there's that wild card team. Is the Cardinals going to trade up or the Dolphins going to trade up? Cardinals ended up trading up, taking Rosen, and then that turned out to be a shit show.
Yeah, they did.
Burrow's going one. It's a foregone conclusion. And then, is someone going to trade up for Tua? Is Tua going to the Dolphins? And it might be an unpopular opinion, but looking at Tua's health and then looking at the Dolphins, I don't think that's a good fit. Due to the fact of the Dolphins do not have an offensive line, and Tua will get killed. If I have to look at all the teams that need a quarterback, Colts, the Panthers possibly, the Buccaneers possibly, looking at the offensive line, I honestly think the Colts would be a better fit because they have weapons, they have talent, they have the defense, and they have the offensive line.
But you are aware that Tua has already come out and said, look, man, I would really prefer to just sit on the bench this year, heal all the way up, and then play in 2021. Like, he's made that statement. And
yeah.
I think if that's the case, Miami is the perfect destination because they got Fitty, and Fitty played well last year. They really like him in Miami, which everywhere he goes, he's really liked is Fitty. So I'm not surprised. He played really well, helped knock New England out of the first round bye, and they want him back. I think he's going to be back in Miami, and so he'll have someone, a veteran that he can learn from to sit behind and heal up. And they're going to, the Dolphins have a bunch of draft capital. They're going to draft an offensive lineman or two in this draft, and that'll give them some time this season and get better in their rookie seasons, and he won't have to be a part of the growing pains because he won't really be in the lineup. Maybe back into the season he gets in, Dolphins stink, and they want to get him some reps. But I don't hate the Dolphins taking Tua. I don't.
Well, I don't either. But if we look at looking at their offensive line, can they make a good enough offensive line for Tua within a year or two? Because he won't play this year. He'll most likely play next year. Can the Dolphins revamp their offensive line to knock it to a killed by 2022?
I mean, that's $1 million question with any team. I mean, because Tua, to me, is a guy. I mean, he was really well protected at Bama. You know what I mean? Like, their offensive line is really good, and he still got hurt. So it's there isn't a situation that you can just say, well, you put him behind this line and he'll be fine. You're going to get hit as a quarterback. And that's the problem with Tua is that when he gets hit, is he going to get up? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's the question you got to ask yourself.
This draft class for quarterbacks does remind me of the one 2 years ago.
For good reason.
One of these four, I don't know who it was, and I don't want to put that on them, but one of these four is going to end up being the Josh Rosen of the four, and they're just going to stink.
Yeah. if I had to put money on it, I'd say it'd be Herbert.
Yeah, because if we look at the last three, actually no, Herbert is Oregon. Who is the UCLA quarterback coming out?
When?
I thought there was a UCLA quarterback.
It's Washington. Jacob Eason.
Oh, Easton. It could be Easton. Easton kind of reminds me of Rosen. And the quarterback you were thinking of from UCLA was Hundley.
Yes, there it is. Brett Hundley. There you go. Yep, Brett Hundley. Thank you. I was racking my brain. I could see his face chewing that damn gum, and I couldn't think of his damn name. Thank you.
The only reason I know is because he was our backup this year.
Right. I knew he was in Arizona. I couldn't think of what his name was, though. And it was crazy because I've heard his name rumored to the Redskins a couple of times as a potential backup option behind Dwayne Haskins if Alex Smith is not healthy. And so I don't know why I couldn't think of his name.
This whole depending on what the Lions do at 3, is this going to change this entire draft though? Because the Lions need help, defensive line. They need help at linebacker, and they need someone opposite of Darius Slay. So they could go the corner out of Ohio State. I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to try.
Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, they could go Simmons, which I think would be the more logical pick, just because he could do so much.
Right.
They could go Derek Brown. They could trade, or they could even be a wild card, and they could take a quarterback for next year if they decide to move on to Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, they're not moving on from Matthew Stafford. But you're right. I mean, they got a lot of options through the Lions, and it's a make or break year for Matt Patricia and potentially their GM. You know what I mean? As well, Bob Quinn. If they don't win this year, heads might roll in Detroit. So
I honestly think if they don't go 8-8, and I think 8-8 is going to be that line, because this would be their third year, I think.
Yes, this is his. Well, yeah. Quinn's been there, their GM, I think, a little bit longer than that. I think he was there a year or two prior to hiring Matt Patricia, but Patricia has been. This is his third year. Yes, yeah. This is his third year.
If 8-8 has to be the borderline, if they don't go 8-8, I think they go different somewhere else with head coach. But no, like the Lions, I think the real draft starts at the line.
Hell yeah. I don't think that's even really a real conversation. Obviously, you're going to hear all the different rumors leading up to the draft of 1 and 2 and what these teams are going to do. But I think I've said this, Todd McShay said it, and I don't agree with Todd McShay very often, but he's spot on when he says the draft is going to start at number 3 this year with the Detroit Lions, because Joe Burrow's going 1 to Cincinnati. The Redskins are taking Chase Young, and then the draft really begins at 3. Are the Lions going to make a selection, or are they going to trade back and allow somebody to come up and get to it? That's the real question.
Same as last draft, the real draft starts at 3. It wasn't, a foregone conclusion, but, example last year, Cardinals were going to go Kyler, and the Niners were basically going to go Bosa.
Right.
Real draft started at 3rd.
Right. Yep. And that's pretty much where I stand.
Which is kind of basically the same as this year. We go quarterback, defense, number 3.
That's pretty much it. You spot on. That's how last year's draft went, and that's how this year's draft is going to go. Only difference is, and it could end up because the Giants took Daniel Jones at 6, not 5. Whereas there's a quarterback definitely going to come off the board either at or before 5, not at 6 this year. So anyway, ABE, man, thank you for chiming in, man. Appreciate you. Good to hear from you too, man.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.
All right. Got a couple more super chats. So let's get to those before we roll. All right. Daily Grind. Thank you for the super chat, Daily Grind. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Daily Grind. He says, how's your faith in Scott Turner to lead our offense this year? Jury's out on him. I told you the thing that I like about Scott Turner is that he's an unknown commodity. We don't know, but then again, the rest of the league doesn't know either. So we're going to find out together. My confidence level right now is at a 5. It's not bad and it's not good. It's in the middle because I don't really know. And we have to give him more weapons. I do know that. We need a real threat at the tight end position. That is a must. So you add some more weaponry, and then we see what we have, and then we'll go from there. So Martin Matthews, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Martin Matthews, for the super chat. Martin writes, "Hey, what's up, T? Ever since my first super chat last week, I'm still with you. Love your show. Please don't call me crazy, but I think the best fit is Jordan Love to the Jags, Jalen to Atlanta. What do you think? Be easy on me. LOL." So, I don't have a problem with Jordan Love in Jacksonville. Again, his game is very similar to that of Gardner Minshew. Minshew is a guy that is one of the and don't call me crazy for saying this. I believe this to be the case. Gardner Minshew is one of the elite playmakers in the league right now at the quarterback position. Now, obviously, there are guys that are bigger, more agile, and better than Gardner Minshew in the league at the quarterback position in terms of making off-schedule plays. Obviously, there's Deshaun Watson and there's Patrick Mahomes, and there are other guys. Aaron Rodgers still able to make some plays off schedule, although he's not as willing to do so as he once was. But there are guys that can make some things happen when it looks like all is lost. Russell Wilson is up there as one of the best in the business right now. And so, yeah, there are other guys. But Gardner Minshew, you don't get too far down the list before you get to Gardner Minshew and what he did last year in his rookie campaign, man. There were some escapes. There were some plays that he made. There were some clutch throws at the end of the ball games against Denver. I watched this man at the end of the Denver Broncos game on one leg. He had just hurt his ankle, could barely walk, could barely move. And I'm watching him find a way to get this team down the field in the field goal range to win the game. Like, I watched Gardner Minshew in some games, and I was impressed. So, Jordan Love can do a lot of those same things with a much more loaded skill set than that of a Gardner Minshew. So, I don't think that that's a far-fetched fit, Jordan Love in Jacksonville. As for Jalen Hurts in Atlanta, that one I don't really see. Don't really see that one as being necessarily a great fit. But, the easiest way to make that a fit is to go get a coordinator that could work well with Jalen Hurts, which they've been playing musical chairs with their coordinators over the last 3 years or so in Atlanta any damn way. But when you look at the talent in Atlanta, you need somebody that can deliver them the football. You don't want a guy out there that isn't, ready to take on all of the responsibilities that come with a high-octane offense like that. You got too many playmakers out there. You need a guy that can distribute the football. And watching Hurts last year, there are a lot of wide-open receivers. You know how it is in the Big 12, man. Like, I don't want to sit here and kill the Big 12 because I do it every year, and it gets old. But, there's a lot of guys. CeeDee Lamb was open a lot last year, man. I don't know if he was necessarily going through progressions and making reads and finding the open guy. It's like, hey, CeeDee's open again. I'm going to just throw it to him. So we'll see what happens. I'm not necessarily huge on Jalen Hurts to Atlanta. I think there are better situations for him than Atlanta. But I do like Jordan Love to Jacksonville. I do think that is a very good fit there. With that being said, see what time we got. We are at our hour and 30-minute limit. So, KT the Southern Gent says, Jacob Eason is Paxton Lynch 2.0. Steven Montez killed Chenault's draft stock. He didn't kill it, but he did. He was not good this year, man. Steven Montez is frustrating, but I understand why you would feel like Steven Montez killed Chenault. Chenault had an injury. His injury killed his draft stock. And he says, Jake Fromm is meh. I see Ryan Leaf, Josh Allen, and Herbert. you know what's crazy that initially I had Herbert as Josh Allen, and then I had him as Ryan Leaf, if you can believe that. But I think that the talent with Josh Allen was a little bit more apparent, and Allen to me was more of a playmaker than Herbert. Herbert's not the biggest playmaker to me, so I didn't put that comparison on him. And to take it a step further, I'm gonna save it for my show. I got a big question about Justin Herbert that I never had with Josh Allen, and it's part of the reason why I compared him to the player that I have him as my player comparison. But KT the Southern Gent, that's a really good comment there. And I understand where you're coming from in almost every single one of those comparisons that you made. And that's pretty funny about Steven Montez killing Chenault's draft stock. It was more of his injury than anything else. He played the entire season with that injury, but that's nor here nor there. Anyway, got another super chat. It's from Daily Grind. Double up. From my man, Daily Grind. Thank you for the super chat, Daily Grind. Greatly appreciated. And he writes, Eisen has Tom Brady going to the Colts and Jameis to the Patriots. There's no way that the Patriots want Jameis Winston. I just don't see that being a great fit. Again, if his eyesight is better and that was the issue, and he's all of a sudden now, because look, the talent, again, I keep stating this, especially with Jameis. The talent is there. You know, you don't throw for over 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in a season if you're not talented, which is what Jameis Winston just did this past season. The problem is he also threw 30 interceptions, okay? And I don't think I've ever seen a 30-30 season in my life. I haven't seen a 30 for 30. And that's not what they do in New England. That's not what they've been. That's not who they are. They play defense. And, you know, like I said, Teddy Bridgewater is a better fit in New England. I think Marcus Mariota could be a really good fit in New England. Like, those are the types of quarterbacks I look at and I think, okay, if they have to go in a different direction away from Brady, these are the kinds of guys that make the most sense there. Jameis Winston isn't one of those guys on that list. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys. And that's going to do it for the show, man. I appreciate you guys jumping on and coming on live with me. And we're going to do this again next week. Next week, we'll tackle the running back position and talk about that position. And all of a sudden now, this position is a little bit deeper than I thought coming in. So we'll talk about the running back position, take a look at that group. And it's becoming a little bit more top-heavy than I thought initially. I thought it was only one guy. Now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking there's 2 or 3 guys. And then the week after that, we'll go wide receivers, tight ends. And then we'll go offensive, defensive line. And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. So looking forward to chopping it up with you guys in the future. This was fun. Thank you for joining me. Remember, it's not your man T. It's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, you guys take it easy. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so, and continue to tune in to the Draft Prospects 101 series. Till next time, you guys have a good one.
Louis T Network.